Bruins Beat is brought to you by Prize Picks.
And welcome into the Bruins Beat, presented by Prize Picks. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $50 back when you play just $5. I'm Evan Marinofsky. That is Mark Divver. Divs?
Hey, Evan.
What is up? How are you?
I'm good. Had a great time last night at the Four Nations. You know, not the outcome us Americans were hoping for, but it was a fantastic hockey game. Just a spectacle that I'm really glad I got to experience.
And you went as a fan. Your son got tickets a while ago,
did.
right?
It was my son's 30th birthday, and
oh, what a great son! That's
yeah,
an awesome. That's a birthday gift for you. That's a birthday gift for you.
What a time we had, and you know, I said to my wife this morning, you know, when I'm long gone from this earth, I know my son's going to remember last night. So
that's awesome.
Hopefully that won't happen for a while, but
yes.
But hey, there it is.
That's the good way to look at it. Yeah, you were in the stands for that. What was it like? I mean, obviously people watched the game, I imagine. I'm very curious. I would assume the ratings for that Saturday game in Canada were about over 5 million. I would assume Thursday night was 8, 9, potentially 10.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you think of the experience?
I've been to a number of, you know, I've probably been to a dozen total Stanley Cup clinching games and NCAA championships in my career. I've never experienced any kind of atmosphere that was as electric as last night. Like walking into the TD Garden last night was, you know, first of all, you know, there was a line outside Sullivan's. Yeah, you know, we couldn't get in there, you know, but then we went inside in North Station, and it was wall-to-wall people, and just everyone completely jacked up about the game we were about to see. And, you know, people in the food court there, the hall or whatever they call it.
Hub hall.
Just jammed with people, you know, just, you know, pre-gaming and eating and, you know, just
that food's good, by the way. They have really good food in there.
It is. Yeah, fantastic. A lot of good stuff there. But just people jacked up. Americans, Canadians, you know, Finns, Swedes, you know, people from all over. Just, you know, kind of looking forward to the game. And the line, you know, the escalator that goes up, you know.
Yes.
The line was out into the street like an hour before they were going to open the doors for warm-ups.
Wow.
Just, I've never seen it like that.
Well, it was packed for warm-ups. It was packed
it was.
40 minutes before the game.
It was.
You never see that.
No, you don't. And I mean, the anticipation and the electricity, and then when it started, and the anthems, and, you know, we could talk for 5 minutes about the anthems, but it was
should have been Todd.
It should have been Todd, no question about it. No, and I was, you know, the poor woman who was singing. You know, I couldn't tell. You know, I have a tin ear anyway. I couldn't tell if it was bad. It sounded like it wasn't good.
It wasn't good. I heard on the TV. It was not great.
I looked on Twitter like afterwards, and it's like, yeah, I guess she was really bad. I mean, she was universally panned. And,
yeah, that was not great.
And then, you know, the Boston Symphony Orchestra. Really? That's, you know, I mean, come on. You know, play the organ, sing the song, and let's get on with the opening.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a spectacle. Have Todd pop out of the ice and do it, or, you know, bring in Renee Rancourt or something. But
yeah. I mean, you know, the crowd, the TD Garden crowd is not a Boston Symphony Orchestra crowd.
No,
obviously.
It's not.
It's the opposite. So, but you know, then the game starts, and I mean, just the USA chants, and, you know, they had a Canada chant going in my section, and I got to say, the people on both sides were very respectful of each other. There was no, you know, none of the garbage that you might think could happen in that situation. There wasn't. Everyone's just there to enjoy the game and have fun, and it was unbelievable. It was fantastic.
That's awesome. And overtime, I mean, watching that in person, I was nervous as hell at home. I can't imagine being there in person.
Yeah, and the way the overtime was going, it was wide open, chances at both ends. You just knew this wasn't going to be long. This wasn't going to be like a 2 overtime situation. Someone was going to make a play and it was going to be over in a flash, and that's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happened. I mean, It didn't take long. And it's funny that the third period was played very much like you would think an overtime would be played. It was, very conservative, a lot of chipping pucks out, dumping pucks in deep. Overtime was where it was like both teams were like, we want this over as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah.
We're going to let it all hang out. That was how it was. Obviously, Canada wins 3-2. McDavid wins it. Matthews kind of doesn't cover him weirdly enough in front of the net, and now it's like Matthews is getting a lot of gripe. I think as a whole, the tournament was incredible. I mean, that exceeded every expectation I had. It definitely exceeded any expectation the league had. These were not exhibitions. These were played like the Olympics. I mean, and that was the best part. I mean, I haven't been this into hockey games. I mean, we work in hockey, so we watch a lot of games, and sometimes you're going through the motions, and you're watching the games, whatever. Especially the Bruins this year.
Yep.
Phenomenal hockey, phenomenal entertainment, and it's like I want that. I want that all the time, and I think that would kind of maybe lose its luster if we did do that all the time. But that was incredible.
It was just watching, and from the first game on, just watching the, just the level of skill, the passing, the playmaking, the vision to see plays developing and then to make them by the best players in the world.
The speed.
The speed. It's a reminder in a way of why we all fell in love with the game to begin with. That when it's played at a high level like this, it's just there's nothing better. There's no sport that's better.
No, and I think the best. I think one of the things that hockey has on other sports is you can have global, like you can do international play. Basketball, you can't. They do it, but obviously the U.S. is the best by far.
Yeah.
And football, it's United States and nobody else really. Baseball does do some international stuff, but hockey, you really do have a bunch of different countries who could potentially win. And I mean, when they do this in 2 years, I imagine you'll have Russia, you'll have like a team Europe that has the Czechia and Germany and different teams, and the Olympics next year, there will be multiple teams that could make a run, and like. That's what's fun. That makes it fun. And I think the best on best element was awesome. And the players went balls to the wall. That was the other thing. I mean, Charlie McAvoy could be done for the year. Emily Kaplan mentioned on the broadcast last night that multiple guys from both teams have legit injuries that they're playing through to play in this game. And they're going to be out for the foreseeable future. Matthew Tkachuk, obvious. I think Brady Tkachuk might be dealing with something. A bunch of those guys because they went so damn hard.
Right.
Hard. And I think that, for people to realize that's why you can't, people are like, why doesn't McAvoy play like that every game? Well, he can't. The human body cannot play like that for 82 games a year plus playoffs. But I can't say enough about it. That was as fun an in-season tournament or anything as I've ever seen in any sport. And I think guys want to play for their country.
I agree. And in a way, at least for one time, it was better than the Olympics because the Olympics, for one thing, those fights would have, those guys would have been out of the next game, if not suspended, further. And, some of the arcane rules around the Olympics, who's eligible, who's not eligible, the way they call the games, the way the referees call the games, at one point during this tournament, I was thinking, you know what? Who needs the Olympics? Why don't
I
we just
agree.
have a 4 nations or a 6 nations every couple of years, and then send I don't know, send a college all-star team like in 1980. Send
Yeah.
them to the Olympics.
Yeah. I don't hate that idea. I like
What do
that.
we need the Olympics for? And not to mention like the corruption and just all the general BS that surrounds the Olympics. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But if it did, I'll support it.
What I liked about this was every team was good. Obviously, Finland and Sweden were not
Yeah.
quite US and Canada, but I mean, Sweden beat the US, Sweden almost beat Canada, Finland beat Sweden. Like every game was good. There was a mystique to every game, and obviously, if we could watch a 7-game series of US Canada, I think everybody would sign up for that. But I think everybody would be dead by like the 5th game. It was just well done, and it's very hard, as you know, to come up with new ideas like this that work. Yeah. Like a lot of times you worry that it's going to be crappy. Like even I wish I knew this was going to be this good. I would have bought, a pack of 3-game tickets to the Garden months ago for much cheaper money. But you worry about that stuff, and like the NBA is dealing with this right now, where the All-Star game is a joke. I mean, the NFL, the All-Star game, it's flag football, and what do you do to make guys care? And I think that's what's different about hockey players, though, is to them they don't really care that they're about money with it. They don't care about anything to do with it except for pride, and pride trumps everything, and it did in this tournament. And I think that's what made it so great. In terms of the Olympics. Do you have any thoughts on roster moves the United States could make for next year? Guys you want to see in, guys you want to see out? I think there's a clear one on D who I want to see out, and it's Adam Fox. Yeah. And I know that's unfair, but you and I talk about this. We watch a lot of U18 hockey and prep and high school and top prospects coming up. And one thing that I definitely get annoyed with, and I know you do too, is when scouts will say, oh, the kid's not big enough, or he's not a good enough skater.
Yeah.
And we always go, well, so what? He puts up a lot of points. He's really smart. He does this well. He does that well. Who cares if he's not, 6'4" on D? I think when you have best on best like this, the smaller, maybe not as good a skater guys get exposed. And Adam Fox isn't a great skater, and he isn't very big. And not to say he's not a great defenseman, but in international competition, when the best are playing the best, he stuck out.
Yeah, he didn't have a great tournament. And last night, I thought, unfortunately for him, he really struggled a couple times, more than a couple. His struggles really stood out. Jack Hughes was another one that you can't sugarcoat that performance last night. He played poorly. He looked out of place. He looked almost like, and kind of strange to say this about one of the superstars of the NHL, but he almost looked like a JV player, like called up to the varsity. It just didn't fit. He was overwhelmed physically at times, and it looked like he went out of his way to avoid body contact.
I agree.
He's still a young man and has a tremendous. He's nowhere near his ceiling as a player, but when they get around, I have no doubt that he'll be on the Olympic team next year. But he's going to have to kind of do better.
Eat
grow
this
up,
summer.
whatever it is. Yeah,
I agree.
And I mean, in the bottom 6, the U.S. has got to do better. Some of those guys, they didn't take Clayton Keller. They didn't take Tage Thompson, who was there, by the way, and he passed by where we were downstairs, and every time I see him, I'm like, wow, that's a big man, you know.
We were saying before we came on, I mean, like Mason Lowry and Nikita Zadorov were in the stands. I'm curious, like, did they have to have security around? I mean, Zadorov and Lowry are two very, you know what they look like if you're a Bruins fan. And I wonder if they were able to watch the game peacefully. I would hope they would be able to.
Yeah, that's, you would think they would have a suite for those guys, but, you know, I don't know where they sat.
Where's the suite for those guys? They play, that's their home rink. They bring in money. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. You know, is Tage Thompson in? Quinn Hughes is definitely in on the back end.
Quinn Hughes, yeah. You know, and I mentioned Clayton Keller. He'll be another year older. And there'll be other guys who, you know, develop and kind of pop. And you know, you can be comfortable in putting them in that situation maybe. And, you know, kind of phasing out some of the older guys, you know. Chris Kreider's not getting any younger. He's had a fantastic career.
Yep.
But, you know, I don't think he had a particularly good tournament. So I think there'll be changes. You know, I think they're in good shape in goal. But, you know, throughout the rest of the lineup, I'd expect, 3, 4, 5 changes between now and the Olympics.
It's funny. Hellebuck's clearly technically the best goalie in the world. But I've yet to see him make the big save. And I know that that's like a annoying critique, but I mean, he was brutal in the playoffs last year. He was fine on Thursday night, but you know, I mean, obviously leaving McDavid alone on the slot is a bad idea, but you know, you have Jordan Binnington at the other end making save after save on Matthews and Brady Tkachuk and, you know,
well, it's
high
interesting
danger chances.
To look at the two goalies, you know, Hellebuck acknowledged, I think right now is the best goalie in the world. And Binnington, under fire after he let in kind of a soft goal early in the tournament, everybody assumed, I think, that, okay, the U.S. has a big edge in goal. But, you know, when the game is on the line last night, I mean, Binnington was there. He came up with all the saves.
Every one of them.
You don't... You know, those of us here around Boston, you know, the 2019 is a painful memory, but, you know, he's the guy that got it done for them. You know, when the big moment is there, I mean, you can find fault with his game like anyone else, but boy, he's come through now in two incredibly huge moments. The Stanley Cup, Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final on the road.
Yep.
And then last night on the road again in an incredibly pressure-packed situation. And I don't know how he wasn't the MVP, but you know, there you go.
Well, even like that 2019 Game 7, not to piss off Bruins fans, I know this will, but he was under siege in that first period. Yep. Johansson had a big chance. I mean, there were a number of like real should have been goal chances, and he stopped them all. And in overtime, and in the third, mainly in overtime, he was under siege just like that. He had 3 or 4 game-saving saves in that overtime, and so I agree. I mean, I think they're fine in that. On D, I just wrote, like, to me, if there are two guys on D for the U.S. rose their stature immensely. Jacob Slavin, number 1, clearly. Yep. I mean, that guy is the best shutdown defenseman in the league by a mile.
He's not a secret anymore. If he was a secret before, he's not a secret anymore. Yeah,
he isn't. He's a college guy. Colorado college
guy, yeah. Yep.
And another college guy, Brock Faber. Phenomenal. Yep. I thought he was phenomenal last night.
Yes, and throughout the tournament, he was very good.
I think you've got to split those two up, though. I don't know if you can.
I mean, a guy like Zeev Buium of Denver.
Yep.
Is he going to come along fast enough that he'll be a factor in the next Olympics? Maybe next year. Maybe it's too soon. But,
it might be too soon solely because if you have Quinn Hughes and Werenski, and Werenski had a very good tournament.
Yep.
Not saying they're the same player, but they're two, smaller-ish left shot offensive defensemen. I don't know. That's why I think you need Slavin as your other left shot D. You probably don't need Buium, but Buium's freaking
But down the road, down the
Yes.
road on future best on best competition, he's probably going to be a factor, a strong
100%.
candidate for the U.S. team. And there'll be other guys that maybe we don't recognize yet, American players, whether they're playing college or wherever they are at this point, guys that will emerge that will be a factor as well.
I also wonder, like, Sanderson played well, I thought. I don't know if he's going to make the Olympics next year, but he can fly. He's a great skater. He moves pucks well, all that stuff. He scored on Thursday. So I wonder, is he the extra defenseman again? I also, I know Adam Fox is getting a lot of hate right now, and I agree. I don't know if he should be on the Olympic team, but I have a tough time thinking that they're going to keep him off. It's the same thing as Jack Hughes, where it's like, are you really going to leave him off? I guess it goes back to Herb Brooks and Miracle saying, I'm not looking for the best ones. I'm looking for the right ones,
right.
Which is fair. And that's where Adam Fox does get kicked off. But I have a tough time thinking they're going to really pull that trigger. If Billy Guerin's back in charge or whomever, that's a hard decision to leave off a Norris Trophy winner.
Well, and here's the thing.
That's the Olympic Committee. They're sending you the team. They're sending you the team picks.
I lost my train of thought here.
Well, we were talking about the player looking for the right ones and leaving Adam Fox off.
Okay. So Adam Fox, I don't think he's having a particularly good season with the Rangers. I think he's taken a step back this year. That's not to say that he can't get back to the level we've expected of him in the last few years by next year or going forward. Maybe this is just a tough year for him,
I agree.
I don't know what his, I haven't heard anything lately about his health status, but, I think at the beginning of the season, I think there was some kind of injury issue that was maybe slowing him down. And, a guy who, slowing him down is exactly what you don't want because he's not a burner to begin with. But maybe 12 months from now, he's completely healthy and he's ready to go and he's back to the standard we've expected. So another name I want to throw out there, again, maybe too soon, Lane Hudson. He's going to be on the Olympic team at some point. Will it be the next one? Well, I don't know. They also left Cole Caulfield off.
Yep.
I don't know if he would have fit into the bottom six at this point, but going forward, he sure as hell is going to be a factor in on Olympic teams and Four Nations teams or whatever they call it going forward.
It's tough to leave off Keller and Thompson this time around because I think you can put those guys in the bottom six if you need it. Thompson has the size, wicked shot. I think Keller could have played Brock Nelson's role better, or those kinds of things. I don't know how you leave Cole Caulfield off next time. I don't know how that happens. But I think they have a real shot next year to win gold. You have the goaltending, you have the high end forwards. I thought Matthews actually played well on Thursday. It was overtime and leaving McDavid open, not finishing the chances that killed him. But he had 2 assists. Could have had goals. I thought he played well up until overtime.
I agree, and I think the coverage issue in overtime obviously is everyone's going to jump on. But I thought leading up to that, he showed a side of his game defensively that we haven't really seen or haven't really noticed because his offensive game stands out so much. You don't think of him at the other end of the ice, but he was aside from that massive gaffe in overtime, he was good in the defensive zone. He played a good two-way game until that mistake in OT, and it's unfortunate for him and for the Americans that it happened that way.
It was, but again, I think as I said, I think they have a good chance in Milan next year and Canada clearly. Hopefully Marchand makes that team. I think he should. When he went on that mini breakaway in overtime,
I thought, here it is. Here it
that
is.
That had to be it. It had to be.
And I'll tell you, I was, you root for the story, right? You root for the story. You don't necessarily root all the time for who you want to win.
I agree.
What a story that would have been. What a story that would have been. It would have been. He could have walked out of there and said, "You know what? I've done it all. I'm retiring now." And that was my my final golden moment, and it would have been fitting. What a story that would have been.
It would have been incredible, and I think that most of the fans there who were for the U.S. I think would have had to cheer because there's a lot of Boston people, and I think they would have been sort of in shock. I would have been pumped if it was Marchand who scored the winner. I think the league got what they wanted out of it. They got a ton of buzz.
Yeah.
The best player in the world scores the game winner. I mean, that was. If you're the league, I don't think you can ask for anything more.
I agree. And just
That's
back
everything.
to Marchand for 1 second. On his first shift, some guy behind me with a very loud voice yelled out, "F you, Marchand." And, like, a lot of people laughed, like, out loud. Like, it was the moment, the Boston hero, and here he is in a Canada sweater. It was funny.
That's awesome. Yeah, they booed him every time he touched the puck for most of the first half of the game. So that was awesome. Well, I have some bad news. We're going to talk some Bruins. But first, a good news, our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. They put their members first, so all withdrawals are fast and safe and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes, and Prize Picks offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. When you talk Bruins, if I was going to pick one guy, it's David Pastrnak. That's my guy. That would be my pick for Prize Picks if you're going to do something for the Bruins. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app, use code CLNS, get $50 instantly and after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. So I was greeted with some bad news on Friday morning. I was scrolling through Twitter. I was looking at what was being said from last night and, the funny tweets and this and that. And I came across Fluto Shinzawa tweeting the practice lines.
Oh, boy.
Now, Marchand's obviously not going to be a part of it. I saw Marchand in that video with Bergeron and Crosby. I think he had like a Budweiser or a Molson in his hand. So he's rightfully celebrating. He doesn't need to be at practice. He doesn't need to be at practice on Friday. But Geeky Zaka Pastrnak, Tufty Lindholm Coyle, Frederick Patra-Brezzo, Kepke Beecher Kastelik with Wallstrom as the extra, Zadorov Peak, Callahan Carlo, Lowry Wotherspoon, Osterley is the 7th, and Swayman and Korpisalo. It's just like, oh man, here we go.
Yeah.
After watching the most high-end hockey you can watch, we got to go back to this. It's like, it's like when you go to a really nice restaurant, or you're on vacation and you go to a really nice restaurant, then you come home and you're like, what's in my kitchen? And it's just, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this for the next 7 weeks?
Yeah, I don't know. And we're going to do it without Charlie McAvoy.
It's the worst part.
I don't, my learned medical opinion is that we're not going to see him again. I don't know. Maybe we won't see him again until September. Who knows? But I think the Bruins are rightfully, miffed about, miffed probably isn't strong enough, but pissed off, angry, livid about the way this was handled. So when Cale Makar was sick, he could have played in that Saturday night game against the U.S. He could have played, but he didn't. Because they figured, give him a day and he'll be better, and then we'll have him next time. Now, why did, if Charlie McAvoy's shoulder was that bad that they're shooting him up with God knows what, why couldn't they have said, the U.S. said, you know what? Okay, we're going to sit him out against Canada, as much as that would have hurt, and live to fight another day. Hopefully he'd be better in a couple days, and you'd have him for the decisive game last night. Instead, they give him a shot. It gets infected, and now the Bruins are really in one without him. And I just think their anger in this case is they got every right to be angry. I don't think the medical people with USA Hockey, if they're the Minnesota Wild people or whoever they are, they didn't handle it right. In hindsight,
no, they didn't. And I agree with you. I think I think hindsight obviously is 2020, and this is Monday morning quarterbacking it. But you look at that first U.S.-Canada game and the way the U.S. approached it, and it was balls to the wall and fighting, and it was right. They won the game. It was a big win, like no doubt, cool moment, awesome game, unforgettable. But it was a regular game in the tournament.
Yeah.
It wasn't the championship game,
right?
And I think a lot of guys might have had injuries stemming from that. I think we're going to hear about that over the next couple months, whether it was Matthew Tkachuk in that game or McAvoy re-injury, infecting his shoulder. I know he got hurt in that Finland game, but it's, I just wonder if that approach was a little off. But again, it's, guys are going to go hard. And I think, Charlie McAvoy's not going to say, yeah, I don't want to play. Like, he's going to play. And the Bruins have every right to be pissed about it. In terms of what, Conor Ryan and I talked about earlier this week about what the Bruins' path forward should be. And I think if McAvoy is out for the foreseeable future, his arm was in a sling, at least when we saw him on camera on Thursday.
He didn't look, just got to say, when they showed him on camera, he did not look good. He did not look good.
No.
He looked like a guy who's been through a lot the last few days.
And that's where I'm with you, where it's like, do the Bruins just shut him down? Do they say, this season has not gone our way in any form of fashion. Let's shut him down for the year and roll with what we've got. We're not buying at the deadline. Like I think this McAvoy thing may have made their decision for them for what to do with the deadline. Because obviously all of us are like, hey, retool, punt and try again next year. But I think they still want to go for it. They put a lot of money into this roster.
Yeah.
I just wonder if this might have made that decision for them.
I couldn't agree more. If bringing him back, if he gets to the point where they think, okay, he can play games again, and it's kind of like, well, we'll put him in there and we'll hope for the best. We'll see what happens. I don't think that's the way to go. I think they have a tremendous asset here, one that they're going to need, and one that they need to treat, with the utmost caution to make sure that, when next year comes, he's ready to go. He's completely healthy and he can hit the ground running, and they can as well. But as far as how they approach the deadline, I mean, there's some obvious guys on the team that are properties that other teams would give up assets for, and I think they need to jump in on that and look at. I've been saying this for months. Look at where they're going to be, next year, 2 years from now. Building something back up to a team that can legitimately contend, as opposed to kind of a bogus contender that can make the playoffs and, oh yeah, once you get in the tournament, anything can happen. Well, yeah, anything can happen, but it usually doesn't.
Agreed.
And, that's you gotta look down the road and hopefully they can assemble some assets, some futures, some draft picks, make some trades for guys that will help, and go that route instead of maybe we can wring 2 or 3 playoff dates out of this year.
I agree, and I think that's the thing where they've got to realize that, and I think this injury might put that into perspective. And you have to wonder, like, do you shut Hampus Lindholm down for the rest of the year too? Obviously, he's supposed to be coming back, not at practice on Friday, but seems to be trending somewhat in the right direction. But he's been out for a while. Like,
Yeah.
do you want to chance him re-injuring anything, or would you want to just let him be completely healthy for the start of next season? That's another thing you got to consider. Now, I'm not saying they would be unwatchable without Lindholm and McAvoy. They'd be pretty damn close. I mean, it would not be a fun product to watch down the stretch. I said this to you. We were at a game Wednesday night. The East is tight. Like, the Bruins are only 5 points away from being in, like, second in the Atlantic, but also like second to last in the Eastern Conference. Like, if they played their cards right, and if they played their cards wrong, basically, over the last couple weeks of the year, they could end up picking like 7th or 8th. But again, do you want to go through that? Are they going to commit to that? I don't see them bottoming out like that, but I'm open to the idea of shutting McAvoy and Lindholm down.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if that will be on the table. I would. I really have no idea. Well, we're kind of layman when it comes to medical stuff, obviously, but you don't know what information these doctors have and what the future might look like for these guys if there's a re-injury or they come back too soon or something like that. I think the AC joint, as I think every hockey player has had that injury, whether it required surgery or not, but it's the kind of nagging thing that, you can play through it. You can play through it, absolutely, because guys do that all the time, but at some point you got to get it fixed and you got to get it taken care of so that, you can continue to go. But the infection part, that's worrisome. That's worrisome. We really don't know what's going on there,
And the Bruins have no problem telling us about it because
that was
their problem.
That was revealing, wasn't it? That
it was
the organization that doesn't tell you, anything about anything.
Doesn't tell you what day it is.
They were right out there with that information. If that wasn't the
more than eager to share,
pointing the finger of blame. I don't know what it was, but so I don't know. It'll be grim if it comes to that, and we'll see. We'll see how that goes, but it's I don't know. A steady diet of Jordan Osterley and Mike Callahan, who's played very well, I think, in his time up, but guys you wouldn't have at the beginning of the year have said, these guys will be in the regular rotation down the stretch. You wouldn't have thought that for a second, but it looks like it's going to go that way.
It does. Divs is always fun. Definitely a fun Four Nations, and now we're on to the rest of the regular season, whatever that might entail. But as always, thank you for joining. And that's Bruins Beat. I'm Evan Marinofsky. Bruins Beat listeners, have a great rest of your week.